Here is Introduction to the Philosophy of Human Person, Quarter 1, Module 10, The Human Person and the Environment. As a senior high school student, do you consider yourself already playing a vital role in the development of your environment? Why is it so that man has to take care of it? Scientists and environmentalists are providing theories and facts on how to preserve and protect Mother Nature. Upon learning these, do we still need to participate and contribute to the sustainable development of our environment? This lesson shall provide you with the answers to these questions as it deals with the relatedness of man to his environment. As we all know, humans have been connecting with the environment ever since people first walked the earth. Humans need the environment because it is from where man gets food, water, building, materials, gas, medicines, and many other things. Some questions may linger in your mind, and through this module, you may learn that your actions can take part in the relationship between humans and their environment and how taking care of the environment contributes to your health and well-being as a human person. For example, humans have been cutting down forests to clear land to grow crops for centuries, and by doing so we have altered the environment. Conversely, the environment affects us in many different ways as well. A simple example is the way we change our clothes in response to cold or hot weather. Advances in science and technology have helped us to exploit the environment for our benefit. But we have also introduced pollution and caused environmental damage. In this lesson, you will learn about the relationships between humans and the environment, and the ways in which we use environmental resources. It will introduce some of the ways in which humans influence their environment and how the environment influences us, both positively and negatively. In this module, you will learn ways how to appreciate and understand the value of taking care of the environment and learn ways to contribute in the development of the environment. At the end of this module, you should be able to 1. Show that care for the environment contributes to health, well-being, and sustainable development. 2. Recognize the relatedness of man and the environment. 3. Present the ways how to care for the environment towards a sustainable environment. Now that you know your targets for the day, have a glimpse of the new words below, which may appear in this module. Anthropocentrism. In an anthropocentric view, the focus is primarily or exclusively on humans, with the natural world ignored or merely a background. Atomistic individualism. The idea that a human being is such an individual possessing a separate essence that radically separates the human self from the rest of the world. Biosphere. The ecosystem comprising the entire Earth and the living organisms that inhabit it. Domination is a kind of power, and usually social power, that is, power over other people by virtue of key characteristics or social influence. Environment. Our environment means our physical surroundings and the characteristics of the place in which we live. It also refers to the wider natural world of land, sea, and atmosphere. Intrinsic value. Something has intrinsic value if its value is for itself and independent of its value for something else. Patriarchy. An ideological system that devalues women and the feminine along masculine lines. It is based on transcendental dualism and the logic of domination, transcendental reality over the natural world, humans over animals, plants, culture over nature, mind over body, reason over emotions, men over women. PRE test. Are you ready to start the pre-test? Remember to write your answers in your journal. True or false? Direction. Read the following statements. Write T if the statement is true and write F if the statement is false. 1. The environment needs to be protected and nurtured for the best interest of the future generation. 2. Environmentalists are only qualified and permitted to take care of the environment. 3. To learn more about the environment, you need to understand that your actions can also affect the environment. 4. As human persons, we are not obliged to express our attention to take care of our nature since it is the obligation of the government. 5. Sustainable development may be the best instrument for conserving the environment. Directions. Read each question and choose your best answer carefully and write it in your notebook. 6. Anthropocentric view focuses on the vitality of humans, where man is treasured than that of other living or non-living things in the world. What is true about this view? A. Man lives only based on the way nature treats him or her. B. Man is not free and all his actions are driven by his or her instincts. C. Man is valued the most while everything serves his purpose. D. All of the above statements are correct. 7. What best illustrates the claim that humans must recognize that they are part of nature, not distinct or separate from it? A. Destroying rock formation to look for minerals. B. Cutting down century-old trees to build subdivisions. C. Converting rice fields and farms to construct malls. D. Cultivating lands to grow more vegetation and breeding of animals. 8. What constitutes public goods? A. Water. B. Oceans. C. Forests. D. All choices are correct. 9. What best explains the principle of public goods? A. The use of these goods by one does not reduce their availability to others. B. They are controlled by some dominating, rich, and influential people. C. Limited resources that are to be shared by people. D. Public goods cannot be shared to protect their integrity. 10. Environmental liability is an obligation lodged to blank. A. The government. B. The NGOs. C. The people. D. The priests. Learning Activity 1. Read and understand the poem below and identify the activities described to be destructive to the environment and the hostile effects of these activities on the environment. Write your answer and complete the table that follows. Guide questions. 1. What is the poem trying to tell you? 2. As human persons, are we the ones to blame for the destruction of the environment? 3. What are the causes or reasons why humans exploit the environment? Learning Activity 2. What's wrong with this picture? Identify what is wrong with the picture below. The people below are taking care of their homes and car but are doing things that can damage the environment. Encircle them and write in the boxes what they are doing that harms the environment. Guide questions. 1. What did you feel about the activity? 2. If these activities were done in your presence, what would you do? 3. What activity shown in the picture you are also guilty of doing the same? Deepening me and my environment. Being a senior high school student, you are already aware of the challenges or problems of our environment nowadays. Facing our current system in the environment, where man is considered the prime mover of its destruction, there are also a lot of ways where a man can attain to care and help in preserving and protecting the environment and its resources. The ability of man to manipulate the landscape of the earth and recognize the consequences of doing it puts us in a peculiar position. As a species, we are assigned the duty to both provide and proliferate as we are endowed to be stewards of this earth and at the same time to have dominion over it. By means of survival, man's goal is to achieve stability for himself and his kin. However, by obligation, man is also duty-bound to maintain the environment as we depend on the resources and services it provides. The question then that we ask is that what is our role in nature? Knowing what is our role, then we ask, do we have all the right to exploit the land, domesticate animals, and pollute waterways? To shed light on these reasons, this lesson shall present environmental ethics, which is a discipline in philosophy concerned with human beings' ethical relationship with the natural environment and that studies the moral relationship of human beings, the value and moral status of the environment and its non-human contents. The challenge of environmental ethics, when it first emerged as a new subdiscipline of philosophy in the early 1970s, is to counter traditional anthropocentrism. In the first place, it questioned the assumed moral superiority of human beings to members of other species on Earth, and in the second place, it investigated the possibility of rational arguments for assigning intrinsic value to the natural environment and its non-human contents. What is anthropocentrism then? Anthropocentrism is a philosophical viewpoint that argues that human beings are the central or the most significant entities in the world. A belief that is mostly embedded in many Western religions and philosophies. Anthropocentrism reputes that humans are separate from and superior to nature and holds that human life has intrinsic value while other entities such as animals, plants, mineral resources, and so on are resources that may justifiably be exploited for the benefit of humankind. In an anthropocentric view, the focus is primarily or exclusively on humans, with the natural world ignored or merely a background. Value is placed primarily on humans, with the natural world having lesser or only instrumental value. Many ethicists find the roots of anthropocentrism in the creation story told in the book of Genesis in the Judeo-Christian Bible, in which humans are created in the image of God and are instructed to subdue earth and to have dominion over all other living creatures. However, this line of thought is not limited to Jewish and Christian theology and can be found in Aristotle's Politics and in Immanuel Kant's moral philosophy. Philosophical views on environment. A. Deep ecology. It is a contemporary radical school of environmental philosophy and social movement based on the belief that humans must radically change their relationship with nature from one that values nature solely for its usefulness to human beings to one that recognizes nature with an inherent value. It focuses on the intrinsic value of nature and takes a holistic approach that emphasizes ecosystems, species, and the planet as a whole. It claims that the primary cause of the problem is anthropocentrism, which it opposes by asserting that humans are fully a part of the natural world and of equal value to all other entities. Sometimes it is called an ecosophy. Norwegian philosopher Arne Næss, inspired by Spinoza's metaphysics, contends the rejection of atomistic individualism, which suggests that man is different from the world. Næss argues that such separation not only leads to selfishness towards other people but also induces human selfishness towards nature. As a counter to egoism at both the individual and species level, Næss proposes the adoption of an alternative relational image of man and the world. According to this rationalism, organisms are best understood as knots in the biosphere. The identity of a living thing is essentially constituted by its relations to other things in the world, especially its ecological relations to other living things. Arne Næss and George Sessions have compiled a list of 8 principles or statements that are basic to deep ecology. 1. The well-being and flourishing of human and non-human life on Earth have value in themselves. These values are independent of the usefulness of the non-human world for human purposes. 2. Richness and diversity of life forms contribute to the realization of these values and are also values in themselves. 3. Humans have no right to reduce this richness and diversity except to satisfy vital needs. 4. The flourishing of human life and cultures is compatible with a substantially smaller population. The flourishing of non-human life requires a smaller human population. 5. Present human interference with the non-human world is excessive, and the situation is rapidly worsening. 6. Policies must therefore be changed. These policies affect basic economic, technological, and ideological structures. The resulting state of affairs will be deeply different from the present. 7. The ideological change will be mainly that of appreciating life quality rather than adhering to an increasingly higher standard of living. There will be a profound awareness of the difference between bigness and greatness. 8. Those who subscribe to the foregoing points have an obligation directly or indirectly to try to implement the necessary changes. B. Social ecology. Social ecology traces the causes of environmental degradation to the existence of unjust, hierarchical relationships in human society, which is seen as endemic to the large-scale social structures of modern capitalist states. Social ecology claims that in order to resolve the crisis, a radical overhaul of this ideology is necessary. The new ideology that social ecology proposes is the absence of domination. Domination is the key theme in the writings of Murray Bookchin, the most prominent social ecologist. For Bookchin, environmental problems are directly related to social problems. In particular, he claims that the hierarchies of power prevalent within modern societies have fostered a hierarchical relationship between humans and the natural world. It is the ideology of the free market that has facilitated such hierarchies, reducing both human beings and the natural world to mere commodities. Bookchin argues that within social ecology as a system, humans must recognize that they are part of nature, not distinct or separate from it. In turn, human societies and human relations with nature can be conversant with the non-hierarchical relations found within the natural world. He pointed out that within an ecosystem, there are no species more important than another, instead relationships are mutualistic and interrelated. This interdependence and lack of hierarchy in nature provide a blueprint for a non-hierarchical human society, and that the liberation of both humans and nature are actually dependent on one another. Accordingly, social ecology follows that the most environmentally sympathetic form of political and social organization is one based on decentralized, small-scale communities and systems of production. See ecofeminism, a contemporary radical school of environmental philosophy. It emphasizes the similar ways nature and women have been conceptualized, devalued, and oppressed. Oppression, hierarchy, and spiritual relationships with nature also have been central concerns of ecofeminism. Ecofeminists assert that there is a connection between the destruction of nature by humans and the oppression of women by men that arises from political theories and social practices in which both women and nature are treated as objects to be owned or controlled. Its name was coined by French feminist Françoise d'Aubonne. Ecofeminism founded on the basic feminist tenets of equality between genders, a revaluing of non-patriarchal or non-linear structures, and a view of the world that respects organic processes, holistic connections, and the merits of intuition and collaboration. Ecofeminism adds both a commitment to the environment and an awareness of the associations made between women and nature. It also asserts the close interrelationship between environmental and social issues. Ecofeminists' aim is to establish a central role for women in the pursuit of an environmentally sound and socially just society. Specifically, this philosophy emphasizes the ways both nature and women are treated by patriarchal society. Ecofeminists examine the effect of gender categories in order to demonstrate the ways in which social norms exert unjust dominance over women and nature. It further argues that androcentrism as a fundamental problem must be addressed to end the subjugation of nature and women. This involves a recognition of the value of the individual as part of a community, in which great value is placed on diversity, equality, and interrelatedness. The philosophy also contends that those norms lead to an incomplete view of the world, and its practitioners advocate an alternative worldview that values the earth as sacred, recognizes humanity's dependency on the natural world. Towards a sustainable development. Caring for the environment is indeed a Herculean task since it takes global action and solidarity. The United Nations Environment Programme (UNEP) is the lead agency for environmental issues within the United Nations family with a mandate to provide guidance for the world on environmental issues and assist with environmental best practices in the UN. Since the Philippines is a member, we are mandated to express care towards the environment and adhere to Sustainable Development Goals, which direct the adaptation of environmental governance and advocate sustainability as the supreme consideration in managing all human activities, political, social, and economic. The concept of sustainability relies on sustainable development. Sustainable development can be explained in various ways, but the most widely recognized definition was phrased by the Brundtland Commission in 1987, which states that sustainable development is a development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It is based on the three pillars of sustainability: economic, environmental, and social sustainability. It is only achieved when there is a balance or a trade-off between these three aspects. Environmental protection takes advantage of a number of principles that are accepted worldwide and often introduced within the framework of international agreements. Major principles to wit, the concept of public good, the prevention principle, precautionary principle, the polluter pays principle, best available techniques/technology. 1. Public goods are environmental resources including water quality, open space, biodiversity, and a stable climate. Public goods are not diminished when they are shared, they are non-rivalrous and non-excludable. This means that the use of these goods by one individual does not reduce their availability to others, and individuals cannot be effectively excluded from their use. Global public goods are necessities that must not be destroyed by any one person or state. 2. The prevention principle states that a harmful activity should be avoided in the case of certain unfavorable consequences. Preventing environmental harm is always cheaper than covering the cost of reclamation, and recovering previous conditions is sometimes impossible, e.g., because of the extinction of a species. However, if the benefits to society are higher, the principle is not applied. The prevention principle has laid down the grounds for rules on the transportation of hazardous wastes, e.g. the Basel Convention. 3. The precautionary principle is used to determine whether an action should be taken or not when environmental risk is uncertain or unknown, but the consequences of the risk materializing would be great or damage would be irreversible. It should be assumed that the risk is significant and protection measures should be planned accordingly. Where there are threats of serious or irreversible damage, effective measures must be implemented to prevent environmental degradation. 4. The polluter pays principle requires the polluter to bear the cost of measures to reduce pollution according to the extent of the damage done to society or the exceeding of an acceptable level of pollution. The polluter pays principle leads to environmental liability, which aims to prevent and remedy environmental damage. Environmental liability is an obligation based on the principle that a polluting party should pay for the damage it causes to the environment through its activities. 5. Best available techniques or technology, BAT, requires the operator must use the best possible economically justifiable technology to protect the environment. BAT is not a spare no expense approach that always demands the use of the best technology available regardless of the cost-benefit analysis. In practice, the cost aspect is also taken into account. 3 important principles of sustainability. 1. Environmental integrity refers to maintaining the state of the environment and that human activities should not unduly disrupt the ecosystems and human communities located in the area. 2. Economic efficiency refers to prudence in decision-making regarding the use of resources to ensure that there is minimum zero waste. 3. Equity demands that we use our natural resources in such a manner that these are conserved so that the next generation will be able to use them. Many modern technologies are available to show your care for the environment, such as the multimedia. You can now send your thoughts or ideas in environmentalism and share ways to wisely use the natural resources for next generations. Another example is regarding your relationship with nature. Through this, you can appreciate the impact or contribution of the environment to your health and well-being. As you care for the environment, you can achieve fulfillment since you know that the next generation will still have these resources available and there is a system wherein the natural resources are not being put to waste. Sustainability is a concept that advocates the wise and efficient use of natural resources. It emphasizes that human activities must not unduly harm the environment, that natural resources must be used wisely, and the environment must be preserved for the next generations. Learning Activity 3. Now let us explore further. Let us have another activity. Write yes in the second column next to the specific activity if it shows or contributory to sustainability in the environment and write no if not. Justify your answer. Application. As a senior high school student, I now realize that our environment supports the development of my well-being and enhances my capabilities in taking care of and nurturing Mother Nature for the benefit of future generations. Therefore, I will list down my plans to preserve it. Write your own plan on how to preserve and conserve the environment. Post-test. True or false? Direction: read each item carefully. Write T if the statement is true and F if the statement is false. Write your answer in the space provided. Explain your answer if your answer is T, and give the correct statement if your answer is F. Good luck. 1. The environment needs to be protected and nurtured for future generations. 2. Environmentalists are only qualified and allowed to take care of the environment. 3. To learn more about the environment, you need to understand that your actions can also affect the environment. 4. As human persons, we are not obliged to show our attention to nature since it is the government's obligation. 5. Sustainability ensures the availability of resources and life support for future generations. Directions: read each question and choose your best answer carefully and write it in your notebook. 6. What best describes deep ecology? A. Destroying rock formation to look for minerals. B. Cutting down century-old trees to build subdivisions. C. Converting rice fields and farms to construct malls. D. Cultivating lands to grow more vegetation and breeding of animals. 7. What is true about the anthropocentric view? A. Man lives only based on the way nature treats him or her. B. Man is not free and all his actions are driven by his or her instincts. C. Man is valued the most while everything serves his purpose. D. All of the above statements are correct. 8. What does not constitute public goods? A. Lakes. B. Rivers. C. Forests. D. Resort. 9. Environmental liability is an obligation lodged to blank. A. The government. B. The NGOs. C. The people. D. The priests. 10. What does not explain the principle of public goods? A. Public goods are not diminished when they are shared. B. Public goods are controlled by dominating, rich and influential people. C. Public goods must not be destroyed by any one person or state. D. Use of these goods by one does not reduce their availability to others. Assignment: make your own 5-minute video clip that highlights one of your answers in the application part. The video clip must feature you as the main character or the narrator if applicable. Share the video in the group chat that will be created for the said activity by your teacher. Here are the key to corrections. Check your answers honestly.